Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jay from Sony Alpha Lab, and what I got here is the Sony 70-200 f4 OSS G lens, and it's made for the full frame E-mount camera systems. So the Sony A7, A7R, and A7S to be more specific. And it's a really nice lens. It goes for about $1,500 US. And in this review, I'm going to go over everything you need to know: sample photos, all sorts of good stuff. I got lab shots, and I'm going to break down all the features and specs of this lens because it's really powerful, really nice, and you know, for $1,500 you really got to know what you're getting. So I'll break everything down for you, you know, in a comprehensive way. So stay tuned and right on. Alright, so the 70-200 E-mount lens weighs in at approximately 840 grams, and it takes a 72mm filter thread on the front there. So if you want to put an ND filter or a polarizer on there. The APS-C focal length equivalent is 105 to 300 millimeter if you're going to use it on a crop factor camera like the Sony a6000. This lens features some really high quality optical elements like super ED glass and advanced spherical elements, and that helps with aberrations and distortion basically. It also has the super nano AR coatings that help reduce effects such as flaring. The lens is also dust resistant and moisture resistant, which is a great feature to have, especially if you're outdoors and sports and things like that. During automatic shooting, the 70-200 utilizes dual linear focus motors, which is amazing, and it helps it, you know, achieve super fast, precise focus in really hard situations. It also has optical steady shot built in. There's a tripod collar that can come off if you want, and same with the lens hood. This lens also features 3 focus hold buttons, and in addition to that, it has a range limiter toggle that will limit the amount of hunting that the lens will do. It also has a panning mode adjustment, which will help with horizontal movement while shooting. A rounded 9-blade aperture to produce pleasing out of focus in the background there. And the minimum focus distance is 39.3 inches with a maximum magnification of 0.013x. Here she is mounted up to the Sony a7R with the battery grip attached to the Sony a7R, and you can see it looks pretty sweet and balanced as far as size is concerned. Without the grip, the lens does look a little bit big, you know, just on the camera. And also, I wanted to talk about the rubber grip. It has these fine grooves for the rubber grip, as you'll see in a second as it comes around. And it feels great on the fingertips. I never had any problems, you know, slipping with the focus or zoom. Here it is with the lens hood on there, and you can see the hood. The hood is huge and makes the lens significantly larger. But it offers a lot of protection. And, you know, if you want to look like a pro on the sidelines, make sure you have the hood on. I'm just kidding. But it literally does offer protection, you know, even if you're indoors. If you bump the lens on something, highly recommend leaving the hood on, as awkward as it may be at times. Here it is on the a6000. And you can see it's a little bit bigger looking when mounted to such a small mirrorless camera. But it works great, and basically you hold it the same regardless what camera you're using, so your left hand is basically going to support the weight of the lens. I actually like to loosen up the tripod collar a little bit and swivel it to the left, and it actually fits in the palm of my left hand a little better, and it makes for easier hand shooting. I kind of put it right where the knob is, and there's that G symbol. Alright guys, so here we are on Sony Alpha Lab, and this is the actual written review for the 70-200 f4G OSS lens. And I'm just going to go over it this way this time for this review. And, you know, based on your feedback and stuff, we'll see how it goes. I could do it in Lightroom as well, but it takes a while for the images to load, and it's much more taxing on my computer. So I was going to try to do it this way and see how it goes. So let me know in the comments below what you think of doing it like this, if you don't mind. Alright, so basically what we got here are the pros and the cons. I mean, the pros of this lens are incredible optical quality, build quality. It's got low weight because of the f4 aperture, and, you know, fast AF performance due to the dual AF motors in there, and it has built-in OSS. And those are the pros of this lens, in my opinion. The cons: it's very large, and it can also be considered very heavy compared to some of the other E-mount lenses. However, the battery grip for the A7
does help balance things out quite a bit. It's a high dollar item also. That's a negative. I mean, it's $1,498. It costs like 3 times as much as some of the mirrorless E-mount cameras. So hard to justify unless you're pretty much a pro or somebody looking for pro quality results. It does have a little bit of mild barrel distortion, but it's not bad at all, and it's very easily correctable in post. And the other negative of this lens is it is a little bit softer at 200 millimeter than at 70 millimeter, but it does sharpen up at f5.6 and f8 nicely. But it's noticeable at 200 millimeter at f4. You can see a little bit of softness in the corners, and as opposed to the 70 millimeter, which looks much sharper at f4, wide open. So moving on, we have build quality, design, and features. And I have an illustration here. Well, it's not an illustration, it's actually just a picture of the f2.8 A-mount version of this lens. And the A-mount is much heavier because it's f2.8. And you can see the size of it here. It's significantly thicker where the grip area is, the barrel itself. And you can see how much heavier it is as well. Significantly more weight, 2.87 pounds versus 29.6 ounces. So, significant difference in weight there. Also, here's a couple pictures of the Sony A7R with the battery grip mounted on my deck. I actually took these, and it's a really nice looking lens. And here's a cutaway so you can see the inside of it. It's like an illustration. You can see the different types of optical elements that Sony incorporated, to provide the quality that they did at the price point that they did. And here's some of the lab photos. I took a whole bunch of them, and you can see all the different optical qualities at different apertures. Here's 200 millimeter f8, and you can see just how sharp. I mean, it's razor blade sharp. You can see all the little fiber hairs on the the felt little pipe cleaner things, and the crayons. Just look at the paper of the crayons. I mean, it's really sharp at f8. And here's f4. I'll just zoom in here and show you how it's a little bit softer at f4. Still very sharp though, but a little bit softer. All right, and then you can see here zoomed in f4, and you can see how the background renders the lights nice and round. Very nice bokeh effect, and you can also see the squares on the test chart, how that renders. I always like the way that looks with different lenses, and this lens proves to be pretty sweet. So here's what the corner looks like at 200 millimeter, and you can see it's just a little bit soft. I mean, it's f4. It's not terrible, but it's a little bit soft, and worth noting. But check out the quarter. You can see that's razor blade sharp. It's very sharp. I shouldn't say razor blade sharp. It's definitely very sharp. It's f4. Now this is a little bit softer. You can see on this area. So let me zoom out. And you can see where the crayons are down here, and you can see that's a little bit soft. So it's possible I had the lens at just a slight little bit of an angle, but I had everything pretty calibrated, so I don't think so. So moving on here, you can look at all these images if you want, but the bottom line is 200 is just a little bit softer than some of the other focal lengths that I've tested. And you can see I tested multiple focal lengths here, and you can click through all these images. Sample photo wise, I have tons of really good images. I was using it on the A6000 here, and I was taking rapid fire shots of Layla, and just they were coming out awesome one after another. I was so impressed with the performance of this lens, especially on the new A6000. You could just see how sharp it is, and the contrast detail. It's excellent. I got tons of portraits here. It's a really great lens for portraits because you can zoom in at 200 millimeter and just get a killer portrait shot from no matter where you're standing, pretty much. I mean, you could do 100 millimeter, 135. This was actually 146 millimeter, and it's so easy to just frame the shot perfectly for a portrait type shot. And the background just blurs right out, giving you that awesome pro quality separation and pop. Here's a couple shots of my brother Chris. He's doing really good. He's doing CrossFit and stuff now. He's looking great. Lost a lot of weight. But again, the quality, it's phenomenal. Really good stuff. Here's a picture of me and Layla. We were blowing bubbles and stuff. It was fun. You can see the color is just excellent. This is in the bright sunlight. Michelle took this shot with the A7R. So it just, you could see the highlights, everything, all the details there. It's just does a great job. This is a cool paracord bracelet I made. It's got a lot of detail on there. You can see all the little fibers, and it renders it quite well on the railing. And you can go through here and click these pictures if you want to see more high-res shots. I have some on the forum as well, the Sony forum. I highly recommend you check that out. And you could register if you want for the forum as well. I'm going to have some giveaways soon. Check out this chopper. This thing's pretty nice. It was at a car show local at a firehouse, and this was a really nice chopper. I was impressed with the design and all that. Springer front, gotta love that. What else do I got here? It's a pretty cool bumper on this car. And so anyway, bottom line is I gave this lens a 4.5 out of 5 rating, and you know, I highly recommend it. It's expensive, but if you have a need for quality and you're doing portrait work or wedding work, this is a lens you're going to want. You know, it's f4, so you can argue it's a little bit slower, but you're saving so much weight, and the ISO these days is so good that, especially with the A7S, I mean, that's just ridiculous, you know, that f4 really isn't that big of a deal anymore. You can get away with f4, and you know, in a lot of situations. So the versatility, you know, it's going to be good enough is the bottom line. So as far as that goes, the lighter weight, it makes much more sense to have that married up with a mirrorless camera as opposed to the f2.8. You know, on a SLR, it makes more sense for that heavy lens. You know, but you could always use that if you want to get an adapter. But you know, for a native lens, this makes more sense to be f4 just because of the weight. So optical quality, again, very good. 200 millimeter, a little bit soft in the corners, but not horrible by any means. It's still really good. And 5.6, it really sharpens up nicely. Image quality overall is really good. Great contrast and color rendition. The distortion is a little bit there, very mild though. You can see it in some of the vertical lines. But again, overall, very good quality. So 4.5 out of 5, and that's about it for this review, guys. So I hope I summarized this in a comprehensive way for you, and please let me know what you think of the review doing it this way as opposed to me going through Lightroom and stuff like that. I'd appreciate your feedback on that. Also, be sure to check out Sony AFFILIATTE for all the latest stuff. I got some new news, and like I said, the forum's on fire, so also check that out. Links below. Thanks, guys.